Hey guys, welcome back to Set the Standard. I'm your host Genelle and
Dad.
that was long awaited.
Yes.
Today,
There was delay for the reaction.
Yes.
That's what it is.
So we're trying a new setup today. I have 2 iPhones filming, which is kind of cool, instead of just the one camera, so we can just get better
We're
quality.
letting them in on all our secrets. You're supposed to tell them all that?
Well,
Come on.
I know.
And keep something secret.
Well,
You're in the sludge cave.
our very dedicated viewers that we do have, you should notice a difference. So we are filming on 2 iPhones. Hopefully, let us know if you like this view. We're going to be pivoting back and forth between my dad and I and do some split screen stuff. I'm going to just be playing around with editing. But today we have a really exciting episode. It's really exciting because I'm actually going to benefit a lot. Sometimes we come in here with topics that I've either been through and we're just talking about it, so you can learn. So today's topic, Dad, you want to announce the topic?
Well, we were talking the other day about routines. And so, what are the benefits of routines? Why have a routine? Is it a good thing in life? All these kinds of things. So we were talking a lot, just in general about specific areas to have a routine in. And then we were talking about really your overall life and, as life goes on and, you get married, you have a family, you need more of a routine because there's just so much going on. So you almost have to, establish how you're going to manage all the things you want to do. And is whether you're, everyone in the world gets the same amount of time. Everyone gets 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365.
And that should really set in for some of you because think about all the people you look up to. They get the same amount of time.
Same amount of time. And generally, I read an article many, many years ago. It was in a business book of some type. And they interviewed successful people. And it wasn't just predicated on, money. Like, for example, 4-star general, they interviewed. They did interview, of course, some CEOs of companies. They interviewed some successful athletes, and so on and so forth. And what they found, as there were many common themes amongst these individuals, is that when they went to sleep, first of all, they didn't sleep 8 hours. That was the first thing. The second thing is when they slept, they were sleeping. So instead of going to bed and watching TV or rolling around for a couple hours, when they went to bed, lights out, go to bed, 6 hours, wake up. And most of them were early risers. Some of them got up at 5 o'clock, 5:30. But when it came time in the evening, they got to bed or whatever time it was, and they were out. That was it. Some of them even got up at 4 o'clock. So, again, same amount of time we have, everyone that's watching has, just using and maximizing their time very efficiently. And one of the things was also a common theme was the routine of it all.
Nice. Yeah. So also this is, let's say you're like, I don't really know what my goals are, or I don't really have anything I'm looking to accomplish right now, but I just still feel like my mind is racing constantly, or my attention span is so short. I think a lot of times too, if you're someone that maybe you don't have something you're trying to accomplish that's super crazy, or maybe you've already gotten into your career and you're just kind of, doing your thing, but you're still like, I need to settle my mind. When I get home, I want to, still accomplish little things. I think whether you went through a bad time, you're trying to accomplish something, get your goals done, I think having a routine is something that can really get you very disciplined and to where you want to go. So our first little, I guess, subcategory is how to establish a routine. Why and what are the benefits? So why and what are the benefits? You said a couple good ones.
To establish one, I always kind of take the end goal and work backwards. So whether it's something you're trying to accomplish goal-wise, financially, or materially, you want to buy a certain thing, or you want to get healthier, lose weight, run a marathon,
get out of a funk,
which we'll touch on. Those are some of the reasons you'd want a routine.
Yeah.
Right?
And those are beneficial. That's like, it's beneficial for that.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where, we talk about, there was a recent article about how much time we spend on our phones. And, and there are reasons we need to be on our phone for work or business or, it's okay to, look at how-to videos or whatever you're into. But there's an obsessiveness that comes with that detracts and takes time away from it, steals time from us. Because we go down these roads of just looking at endless amounts of Instagram, videos or whatever. So getting into a routine and holding yourself accountable will help, which has actually become a societal problem for a lot of people, including kids, really, which we'll touch on. So, that's why you want to have a routine, and you'll feel, I think when you have, it's sort of like controlling your life a little bit. We've talked about what you can control and what you can't. A routine you can control.
Totally.
Right? Meaning you can establish it and hopefully hold yourself accountable to it. That is empowering.
Totally, yeah.
Right?
Really
so
nice.
when you know that you've established this routine and you stick to it and you see the result, that's empowering. That builds confidence, makes you more confident.
It makes you feel also, too, that you can accomplish something.
That's right. It's empowering.
Because you're like, wow, I did this for a set period of time. I'm kind of doing 75 hard right now. And I feel like at the end of 75 days, you're like, oh, wow, I did 75 days, no alcohol, 2 workouts a day, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and you would, maybe I should back up and say, there may be somebody watching this going, well, I don't really want a routine. I like just going flying by the seat of my pants in terms of my life.
Well, then this podcast is not.
Well, no, but I think outside of maybe their work commitment, let's just say some people have a specific work commitment. They have to start and end their work, their daily work at a certain time. So when they're not working, they don't want a routine, right? They'd rather be free to do what they want. Nothing wrong with that if that's, what you're doing. But I found later in life, because I think I've been a routine person for a long time, just by how I operate as a person. But when I started having a family and all that other stuff, and I still wanted my time to do what I wanted, and I always use that example when you guys were little, I didn't go to the gym because I felt like, man, I'd have to leave, go to the gym, then drive home. So I just had equipment and worked out at home and had you guys, actually I did the basement so that you guys could come downstairs and play around while I was working out. So those are things you do as part. Your routine will help you also establish methods and other options to get the things done you want to get done. That's another reason I like routines. I mean, I worked with people, high performance people that woke up at 4:30 to work out. Now, I never could do that. That wasn't my thing. I mean, I did it maybe a year or two, but that was why they were committed to working out, and they'd get up that early.
Totally.
That was their routine.
So then we'll get into, so that was the why and the benefits. Thanks, Dad, for breaking that down. We're going to get into how to build time. Everyone gets the same amount, but how to use it efficiently and build out the routine that you want. I'm going to be listening closely to a few things Dad has to say. So go ahead. You said write it out.
Yeah. So I think, let's just use a 7-day period of time, assuming people work Monday through Friday. Some people work weekends, some have a day during the week off, whatever. I remember, there would be times where I'd be thinking, well, I'll just do everything on the weekend. I'll just save it for the weekend. And that could be a routine. That could actually be one. There are certain things that can't wait for the weekend, though. So you need to find a way within your constraints of time where you could put it in. I always use working out as an example because that's the one that typically gets put to the side, where people say, I don't have time. So, I've always been a person where that's important to me. I make that a priority in my life. And so I make sure I fit it in somehow, and there's times that I've fitted in when it's not my preferred time to do it or my preferred way or whatever, but I did it because I needed to do it. And I always felt good when at the end of the day, I travel a lot. So I worked out in hotels, and sometimes you go to the hotel gym and there's equipment. They've gotten better, But, you just figure it out. Sometimes before there were even gyms in hotels, I just would do push-ups and whatever in my hotel room. So how you would build it is take a 7-day period. And within that 7 days, you've got your chunk for work that you have to do.
Totally. Wait, I have to just say for the write it out portion, there is a website called Canva. And basically they have templates for any and every.
Canva?
No, Can. So canva.com. I'm not sponsored. I do pay for a membership. But they have templates for anything and everything you're looking for. So you can type in at the top, I'm looking for a resume template, a media kit template, a weekly scheduled routine template, daily scheduled routine template. You could do wedding cards. It's such a cool website. So I wanted to make the explanation that my dad was giving a little simpler, because if you are just like a girl and you're listening to this, I just went on Canva last night because I'm going to be building out my routine while I'm sitting here with my dad thinking out loud and then going to write it down. I found a weekly, I think you were going to kind of get into it, a weekly written out routine. And the time starts at 6 a.m. You do not have to wake up at 6 a.m., but it starts at 6 a.m. and goes to 10 p.m.
Yeah, you can adjust that time.
So then I'll probably just fill out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It goes Sunday to Saturday. So I'll fill it out like that. And then I'll print it out. And every week on a Sunday night, I'll tweak some things in there for my schedule for that week, fill up the whole week. Because I think what happens is when we get off of our routine, it's because we're not filling up our schedule. So I noticed when I didn't have a full schedule and writing out my hourly things I need to do in my calendar, I was like, well, I've got this 2-hour period to look at my phone, or I start just well, maybe I'll clean this, then I'll fold that. Maybe I'll start laundry. It wasn't in the routine schedule. So I just started doing random things. So writing it out is a great way to do it. Canva. I bet you there's other websites that have templates too that you don't have to pay for, but I just wanted to throw that in there because writing it out in calendar were our main things on how to build it out. So
yeah, and I would just say you don't have to spend money. I mean, you can grab a sheet of paper or
go
to the store and buy an actual, my wife uses an actual calendar. She writes everything in pen in the calendar. Well, not necessarily in pen, but she writes it in the calendar.
Yeah.
And anytime we talk, she uses her calendar as her means of keeping herself organized and in her routine. And
calendar is cool because you can kind of do your more broad things you need to do. I think for me personally, where I need to be very disciplined, I need an hour by hour written out routine each day, each week. That's where I'm at. Where I have always done the calendar, the calendar on my phone I love. I'll put in, I have this appointment, this event, this, but I don't have it done hourly. So I think.
Do you put reminders too so you get alerts and stuff?
For events and for appointments, but I don't have
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, to me, part of building routine is so you create a routine.
No, yeah, but I need to write it out hourly or else.
No, I understand that, but my point to the people. So you mentioned this Canva thing. Canva. So Canva is a tool that you input information in, but that's only as good as if it's going to remind you and if you look at the tool. Yeah. So I don't care if you post it on your refrigerator.
Can save it as a PDF and
I don't care if you put yellow reminders on your mirror in your bathroom, whatever it takes.
Yeah. But for me, I think, for those of you that watch my YouTube channel or those of you who've seen me on Instagram or anything like that, I'm at a point right now, if you're feeling kind of lost, maybe you're going through a friendship breakup, maybe you're going through a breakup, maybe you're really single and you've just been only focusing on partying. I really think if you really want to kind of feel like you're getting in a routine, starting from your morning to evening and writing it out for 7 days a week and changing it every week is going to be what you need to do. Because trust, I have tried the little calendar, the little reminders. Nothing is holding me accountable from that hour to hour. So I tend to get lost and lose track of time. I'm late to things. I need it. I think I'm at the point where I need a 7 a.m. to a 10 p.m. absolute, this is what you're doing. That's where I'm at. Maybe if you're like, Genelle, you're crazy, you need help, then that's fine. But I'm at that point in my life right now. I need more discipline. I need more accountability. So with that, the third point we have under how to build is...
Hold up. So we started with taking a 7-day period.
Yeah, writing it out.
Okay. And what you want to do is, in order to input into that 7 days, you first have to decide what it is you're wanting to do in that 7-day period to create the routine. In other words, work.
Stay distracted and on top of my stuff.
Yeah. So work is a big portion of it.
Yeah.
Fitness, health in general, relationships, fun, like you want to golf or you want to go meet some friends to bike, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, can be in there too. Yeah. Commitments to a club that you want to go to or whatever. So when you establish that into this written routine for a 7-day period, and I always recommend doing it on a Sunday night, right?
Yeah,
Sunday,
that's what I said. Okay. Every night, so, change up your 7-day.
Every night?
I'm sorry, every Sunday night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sunday is usually a good time. It's kind of the weekend is you're getting ready to get fired up for a new week. And if you said, kind of do a review and your preparation, maybe you're a type of person where you prepare your food for the week. You do, all these things. And if this sounds to you like, man, that's just too intense, I'm not interested in that. There's books out there I read early on in my life about successful people. And there's a ton of them out there. I think it's one of them is the 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. I think is one that's been around forever. And you start reading those books, and what I always found was, this isn't that complicated. This isn't like trying to split an atom or anything. It's discipline to do it. Mm-hmm. You can create any routine you want and write it down, but you have to be disciplined to do it.
Discipline with
So if you need to be disciplined or you're struggling to be disciplined, get a friend involved. Tell somebody you're creating your own new routine and maybe they'll join you or whatever. And I think this was something that we talked about briefly and then I'll move on. But I always ask people this question and I get different looks and I'll probably get some out there in video land. But, have you reached your full potential in life? Mm. And, that's a big question. It really is. And it requires some thought. Because what does that mean, right? And so I've always felt like I'm curious to see and challenge myself to reach my full potential. Now, that could be anything. It doesn't have to be necessarily super hard. It doesn't have to necessarily be the most, complex thing. But it really requires you to think about that. Once you do that, then you'll find you have to create an avenue to get there, to reach your full potential. So that's where routine/goals kind of come into this. And if you're not doing that and you're fine, just kind of, floundering through life, then that's okay too, if that's your deal. But we're talking specifically people who want to create a high performance life, create a high performance result. And I say high performance across anything. If you are looking to be the best at your job and what you do, great. How are you going to be the best at that? So that's why writing it down, 7-day plan, lather, rinse, repeat the following week and or tweak slightly, lather, and then pretty soon, guess what happens? It becomes habit.
I think also too, what my dad is saying is a little bit intimidating. So you're like, gosh, high performance, most potential. There's a lot of people out there that have a lot of anxiety and depression and no hope and feel doubtful. So I'm going to help some of you guys out there who maybe just feel like, I don't know. Essentially what my dad is saying is, let's say you're not striving for your highest potential. So right now I want to reach my highest potential, but I'm not striving to be there right now. I'm just striving to get a routine down so I'm not having all this noise block my head. Because right now in my head, I feel turmoil. I feel, I'm letting so much of that, what do you keep saying? Brain damage of just whatever is in the outside world really distract me. So I do want to reach my full potential one day. So if you're out there and you're like, yeah, I do want to be there, but I am nowhere near, maybe you just feel like you're so far. Remember, my dad is saying putting in this discipline into this routine will eventually get you to getting, because you're
when do you feel you were in the most routine?
Yeah. So the most routine I've ever been was high school when I was doing track and cheerleading.
Now think about what she just said. High school.
Well, because I had to be at school.
Right.
And then I had to, and I will say college too. Like, I had a job and then I had to go to class and I wanted to get a degree. So I was pretty routine there, but I got fired for being late. So I also wasn't super routine because I was I wasn't routine enough to keep me from not getting fired from my college job. I worked at Whole Foods and you get 7 tries to not be late by 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes up until the clock when you're clocking in. And they fired me that day that I was late because my routine just wasn't good enough. And you could be late to class. In high school, you couldn't really, if you're late to first hour, no big deal. But then obviously you're just in school the rest of the day. So your routine, you're going to first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 6th hour. Lunch was at this time. You're going to lunch or you're not. You can't eat in class. And then I had to go to cheer because I was a cheerleader and I was doing track. So that was my most routine. And then I would say college because I still had to go to class. I still had to have some sort of job, even though I was fired from a few. And then ever since then, I've kind of been this loose cannon. And I think then what happens is this is the next thing, how do you break a routine?
Or what breaks the routine?
What breaks the routine for me is turmoil. So sometimes losing a friendship or falling out with a friendship or going through a heartbreak or a family member really upsets you, or maybe you make a decision and it makes you, I don't know, whatever it is, that can set you back. But Dad, I wanted to ask you.
Or you lose a job, you don't get a promotion you want. Mm-hmm. You have, I told you when we were talking about this, I had an injury once that prevented me from keeping my routine. And because I'm a little bit of a type A person, mm-hmm. that messed me up. I was like, man, because I felt like I just couldn't do what I like to do. And, I got back into it pretty quickly. So this is, you're going to have little times in your life where you blip out and just kind of, then you got to refocus. Yeah. And again, when you calibrate yourself, when you think about your life, right? And, you just sit down on a Sunday. I promise you, if you do this, and you take a half hour, TV's off, phone's in the other room, whatever, pen and paper in hand and so forth, and just go through Monday. What do I want to do? Tuesday. Just do it. Just try it. See what you think. And again, on one side, you have all the things you want to get done. And as I mentioned, when you start, if we're talking to people who are single out there, clearly you have more time, quote, than someone who then gets married and has children, because children now require time. They take time from you. One of the things you realize when you have children is just how selfish you are, because they're requiring your time, but you still want to do your time, which requires even more. Again, we only get the 24 hours a day. So this is where just evaluating, your kind of recalibrating where you are as a person. And if you're in your late 20s and you haven't gotten where you want to be in your career yet. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think these are things, when we talked about the routine, one of the things I said to Genelle is, I always said, plan your work your plan. So if you plan your life and elements of your life, I always use fitness as one, specifically weight loss. I had someone say to me long time ago, so if you take out 500 calories a day out of your diet, you'll lose, in times 7, 3,500 calories, you'll lose a pound a week, right?
Oh, is that the math?
And so, rough and tough.
Okay.
So if you think about that, right off the bat, people go to weight loss programs. This has been, stuff they've marketed for decades. Oh, you lose 5 pounds in 1 week and all this kind of stuff. But the real way or best way, healthy way, 500 calories a day times 7, pound a week. Think about that. In 20 weeks, that's 20 pounds. Now, if I said to you, you can lose 20 pounds, you go, wow, great. How do I do it? But then you start doing it only a pound a week. Some people aren't patient. See, that's the other problem. The reason routines are more difficult today, we're impatient. Our society, we want everything now, done, finished, so forth. And so, I always say to you, how do you eat an elephant?
Well, one bite at a time.
Right.
But what I think about what you just said is we think like we want everything now, all these things. But then sometimes like 3 months will go by. I'm like, wow, 3 months just went by.
Right.
And then you know what I think about? What are all the habits I could have just built in that 3 months?
That's right.
I think about that often.
Well, it's like when we talk about investing.
Yeah.
And I've said to you and your siblings, time is on your side. I know it seems hard. You've read a few of those things I sent you. If you put $500 or $100 a month away and you leave it in there for 30 years, how it can compound and what it could create for you in the future.
Even 10 years.
But why aren't, and then there's statistically people who are approaching retirement have nothing saved. Why is that? Because they didn't have a routine or a discipline to do that. Now, Granted, some people financially were working really hard to make ends meet. But the point is all these things, you just said it, they accumulate over time. When you break it down to a 1 week, you have 52 weeks in a year. Mm-hmm. If you can get through 1 week, you can get through 2. You can get through 3.
Right.
And as you said, 3 months from now.
Yeah.
And you look back, you go, wow.
And no matter what, the time is going to pass.
Yeah, man. And you, again, the sense of energy and pride and just fulfillment or fill in the blank that you get when you do that. We were talking about years ago, Terry and I did a 14er. That's where you climb a 14,000 foot peak. And we were going over to there's a place where I live where there's 150 stairs. And man, I tell you, the first time, and I'm usually in some kind of shape, not that I'm a fitness guru or anything, but man, the first few times we went up this thing, it was killing me. But we had set a goal to do it 10 times. So once a week, I think it was, maybe it was twice a week, we headed over there. And I dreaded it. Like I'm driving over there going, man, this is going to stink. It's going to hurt. My legs are going to hurt and the whole thing. But thank goodness we stuck to that routine, which it was, and allowed us to accomplish that goal. And what a phenomenal thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, you get up there and, you're above the clouds and, it was just unbelievable. It was like really cool. So anyway, the planning it and then working that plan is part of the motto.
Absolutely. So there's the 5 Ps.
Mm-hmm. So this was one I used in my professional career. And, it sounds silly, but it's, these are types of things. And there's a little bit of a mind game sometimes you have to play with yourself. I don't know. The way I say it is I coach myself at times. I really do. I talk to myself. I think about things. I like to ride my bike. And so sometimes I'll be thinking, hours or even the day before about my next bike ride. I'll be thinking, mm-hmm. I can't wait and I'm going to go out at this time and I'm going to do this and this. So prior planning prevents poor performance. So the performance side of it is the result, right? So if we're not planning, we're going to have poor result. So prior planning, that's our Sunday plan, prevents poor performance or result.
Getting distracted, overthinking.
Yeah.
I think a lot of kids these days, like
the phone, man.
We're just overthinking. I have some friends of mine that are younger than me and they're really in the dating world and they're just overthinking the social media, overthinking everything. If they the anxiety is so high and so crazy. And it's like, maybe if you just go on your date and then you have your routine, your mind is occupied on your routine, on your set time. So that's why it's so important and why I've realized that for me, it's so important that I get a routine because I really need it right now more than ever. And I think this will be.
I think I just thought of this too, excuse me. things will come into your life that could try to derail your routine. Okay. Mm-hmm. And some of that self-induced, some of that is, life. Mm-hmm. So, when that happens, this is where the discipline comes in. Give a great example. Let's say, the weekend is when you really get after areas of your routine where you can get things done that you're trying to accomplish or whatever. And some friends say, hey man, let's go out to the bar. Let's go out and, do this or do that. There's a part of you that wants to go and have fun, and that's okay. There's another part of you that starts thinking more around the lines of how is this going to affect my routine? You actually start putting things up against that and saying, okay, if I go do that, will that mess up this routine? And I know right now how I feel, because you just said you've gotten off track a little bit. So I know how I feel when I'm in this routine. But boy, I really want to go out, but if I do that, that might mess up my routine. And so you opt not to do it. So this becomes, and I'm not saying you can't have fun or go out and do what you want to do.
Summertime. No,
but you have to, but no, but just if that happens and you get a little off track,
totally
refocus, recalibrate, boom, get right back on track. And then next time you may consider differently. Yeah. That's all. It's really not, we're not talking to be so rigid you become this, and I know people this has happened to, that they've become so routine. I knew this guy, and
it's so inspiring.
He wouldn't drink. He wouldn't, eat anything with sugar in it, even at his own birthday.
I've met people too.
Yeah, he had a birthday cake and he wouldn't even have a piece of his own.
Those people that like blend up chicken and like drink chicken because they're trying to get so many gains at the gym. Like that's like,
yeah, I don't know about all that.
That's crazy. I mean, it's like,
but if that's a routine and that's what they're into, then
some people are like really into it. But anyways, so I'm going to be building out my routine, and here are just a few things that if you want to start a little bit more simple, obviously, I mean, I work from home, but you still got to wake up. If you're into fitness, I love to work out. I think it's a great way to maintain my stress.
So you like going in the morning?
I do.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. So Dad had asked me last night or the night before, I think, when we were talking about my routine. I need to wake up at 7:30 and move my car. So because it'll give me a ticket at 8 a.m. So that's like a part of my routine that I need to make sure, because I've fallen off of that and I've gotten tickets. So my day will start at 7:30. I have to literally get up by then and be out the door moving my car at 8 a.m. So my dad then asked me, do I work out in the morning or the evening or midday? And when he's in town, we kind of just do whatever. Because again, it's something that kind of throws off your routine if you have visitors or if you're on vacation. Yep. For me, I like to work out in the morning so that way I can shower and then get ready for my day. So right after that, I'm going to implement a workout of some sort. I am doing 75 hard, and you're supposed to do 2 workouts a day, but one of those workouts can be like a 45-minute walk outside or inside or whatever. So yeah, another part of my schedule, because I am somebody who works from home, if you have a 9-to-5 job or a 10 to 6 or some sort of 8-hour job where you have to be at.
Or 12 hours.
12-hour job. Yep. Or 14-hour, whatever is your vibe. Yeah. I need to implement a minimum of an 8-hour gap in my day where I am doing work things, because I think what happens is because I, do social media and I run a little business or the podcast or whatever, I don't have like a set period where I'm working on it. Because one, kind of when you're in content creation, you're working 24/7, but regardless, I need to be working a minimum of 8 hours, because there are some days that go by where I'm like, oh, I didn't even work on anything I'm supposed to be working on because my routine was not set into place. I either was just on my phone for too long. I decided to randomly do laundry. I mean, I have to set a day where I'm doing laundry. You know what I mean?
That's okay. That's part of the routine.
That's how much my routine
Your grandmother was like, I would ask her, you talk about routine.
Like Wednesdays.
She went grocery shopping on the same days every week.
I need to do that.
At this literally the same time. I mean, that was her, and people might be giggling about that, but I mean, I'd call her up and I'd be like, hey, how you doing? Whatever. What's going on? Well, today's Wednesday, so I'm going to the grocery store. And I'd be, oh, so it's Wednesday. Okay. There it is. And she would do laundry on a certain day and so on and so forth. So, that's okay. Mm-hmm. If that works for you, if that's what get you going. The other thing you said something that made prompted. Obviously, there are going to be people you can trade. Like, here's my routine for Monday, and I want to get my workout in the morning, and oops, something has happened where I need to be somewhere sooner or later or whatever it is. That's okay if I end up doing it later in the day.
Got it.
Versus not doing it at all. So I used to, like if I go on vacation, I still work out. So I don't, forget about it. I mean, there's times I've been on vacation where I'm just chilling and I don't do that. But my point is, it's okay to, be good to yourself and say, okay, I can't get up this morning for whatever reason, or I've got something else to do, but just fit it in later. I know somebody who recently changed one of their routines to working out at lunchtime, and they're loving it. They're able to take off from work at noon, cruise down to there's a gym close by, which is very common now in the around workplaces, and they do their 35-minute, whatever it is, and they're back, and that's that. And they love it because now they know they got it in. They feel good about it. And then when they get home from work, they've kind of got some time to themselves to do what they want. So I think that's an important part of it too, that you're tweaking and so forth versus just eliminating, right? Tweaking is one thing. Eliminating things, especially that you've decided are important to you and are in this routine. So don't stop doing them if they're important to you. Just maybe alter the routine to fit it in. That's all. Mm-hmm. That's why I asked you that question. If you're the kind of person where, I think it's funny, first thing I do when I get up or shortly after I get up is I want a cup of coffee. Like, I could tell you, I've probably done.
I put coffee in my routine.
A first cup of coffee is like the first thing I do in the morning.
Yeah, I put it in my routine.
And I mean, drink some water, a cup of coffee, whatever.
Cup
and I
of
mean,
Joe.
I still to this day, after all these years, I look forward to them. I think of sometimes when I go to bed at night, I think about my cup of coffee in the morning. And so anyway, I think those are just some things to think about, and building a routine and helping yourself, kind of be empowered. Take charge.
Yeah, especially if you're feeling down and definitely not empowered. I definitely feel not the best. So I need to empower myself with my ability to, I think sometimes, let's say you make a bad choice in your life and you're really down on yourself, you can prove to yourself that you actually really are who you think and know yourself to be. And I think starting with a routine is a great way to prove to yourself that you are disciplined. You can accomplish something when you put your mind to it. You can be dedicated to something. You can feel purposeful. A routine also, I didn't even say this. I think a lot of people in life, and we can close on this, but a lot of people in life feel like they don't have purpose. They just feel like they're floating. And I think a routine can give you purpose because you're like, I'm writing this out so I can accomplish just sort of maintaining my schedule. And then when you finish the week and you're like, wow, I got pretty much everything done in my routine. I feel good and I feel like alive and I'm ready. So it makes you kind of feel like you have purpose, which purpose and finding your purpose can lead to ultimately you thinking further. You mentioned this earlier in the podcast. It can lead you to then thinking about the goals you want. You can start implementing things into the routine because you're like, wow, I accomplished my routine over here. What can I adjust and add in to accomplish the next level if you want to go there?
Yeah, 100%. And this is all, as we wrap this up, it's just when we set the goal for set the standard, it was building your standards. So this is an area, and we've talked about relationships, we talk about health, we talk about that. A routine builds a standard, right? It helps you get where you want and how you're going to, and we could get even more micro on this. We could get into, you and I were talking about like in the case of your work dynamic, going within each element of what is required for you to be successful in your work and building routines on that. So that in your case might be something different than the person who has to, but someone who works for a company or whatever, and they want to get promoted. Yeah. What is it you need to be doing in your job to help you get promoted? So you'd want to build that in your routine. So there's a lot of different ways you can, look at this, even planning to see, a family or friend member on a regular basis. Build that into your routine.
Yeah, or giving them a call. I live long distance.
Yeah,
so.
all kinds. There's just so much. So there's a large amount of other things we can go into. But give it some thought. We appreciate any feedback and commentary on this. And if you have some good ideas around this, please feel free to share it with us. We'd love to hear from you.
Of course. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Build out your routine. Let us know. I'm going to be building out mine tonight. My dad and I are going to go and grab smoothies.
Oh, smoothies.
And then I'm gonna build out my routine.
Set your standard.
All right. Bye, guys.
Later. Peace.